I was born, my mum wanted to get me out quick because my father was dying at home. So we were back on the bus the day I was born to get home. I created a persona and a strength that is a facade to lift me because nobody else was able to do it. Where I think people go wrong. I should be this and I can't change. Why? Because changing, you often feel embarrassed. Me coming to Bali, CEO of several big ad agencies, global agencies, and then coming to Bali, what was the number one thing people said? Ooh, Will's gone woo-woo.
For somebody who is watching and they're like, I want to connect with somebody, but I don't know how. What would be the right questions to ask?
What's the one thing you want me to know about you?
What was the weirdest answer you heard for that? Hey guys, welcome to Soul to Soul. OG Will Travis is back. Happy to have you back, my friend. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, and congratulations, Soul to Soul. Seriously,
yeah,
you just took it.
It started with your retreat elevation barn, so I need to give you kudos because we kind of, I arranged in my head how it should look like, and then I just ran for it. I don't know how many people do it. I guess many people do it in your retreats, but I'm a testimonial.
Yeah, you're the poster child.
Yeah.
I actually have you on the bathroom wall now. I want to be.
Hopefully I'm dressing.
Not true. Yeah, no, you're not.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
The wife put that one up.
So it was a year and a half. How was the year for you? Let's start with that.
I think last year was a typical year for me, was a typical year for everyone. It felt like it was a big year of transition and change. It's quite a disruptive year.
Yeah, crazy.
It felt like the energy was just off in so many ways. But when you actually spend time to look at how it was off and what you learned and how things changed, it was kind of a bit of a gift. And it feels like this year, especially even this weekend, right? You've got this transition of 6 planets and a new alignment. It's a high energy year to make wishes. It's the year of the wood snake where you can make ambitions and wishes for 2025. I think a lot of people are looking for this year to be that transition, that change.
So what was the biggest learnings for you?
It was interesting. I was chatting with just one of your guests before, and I think one of the big reflections is how important this work is to me, for me. And I've always been of service for others. I think the aha was how it has really changed me and how I've been able to celebrate the true me. Usually your superpower and what you do for others is what you need help with most. And I'm always helping everybody all the time.
Yes.
Because of changes and things that happened last year, it allowed me to reflect and start helping me, which was great, really refreshing.
Yeah. I'm actually was surprised because you're the guy who usually don't ask for help. But I seen a few times you're asking for help, and I know this is not typical for you, but I feel that there is a big change that I see, and it's like beautiful to watch.
Yeah, big style. And I think, you hear that phrase, do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
Even though I have guiding principles to allow me to share how to do it to others, I usually, like the cobbler's kid's shoes, the cobbler puts shoes on his kid last. I did the same for me. And then I was actually approached by a few friends who'd done this and said, you've been quite selfish. You're helping all these other people, but it's time we started putting the pressure to help you.
Yeah.
And so it's quite nerve-wracking.
I know.
It's terrifying to be helped.
I'm actually struggling with that too. There are times where I'm like, if I can just ask, I can just pull up and ask somebody and they will help me.
Yeah.
But something in me stops me from doing that. I don't know what it is.
Well, it's pride a lot of the time. And a lot of the time a lot of the persona and how we present ourselves is down to ego, often fueled by damage in childhood. And so when you actually are told to put your ego down, it's kind of like saying I wasn't damaged or affected by what people had said or how things happened in my childhood. Yeah. So it's a rewiring, which is quite tough.
Yes, because I find people, even like when I'm in a company of people, and if somebody shares something very vulnerable, you start really relating to them.
Big, yeah.
And I'm like, why is that so? Like sometimes you feel maybe somebody's complaining or whatever, but like they're vulnerably sharing and this opens you up to them. Then like you see them as a warm person. Yeah,
I think connecting to our authentic self, we're so much in service of culture at the moment instead of community.
Yeah,
we're following this trend about likes more than love. And when people actually share the love and share the community needs, you can't hide it because it's there. You can't change. This is how we're built as humans. Whereas only in the last, few years have we been sharing our ways in different mediums, different ways of connection. Yeah. But it's all a facade. It's dangerous, I feel.
Yeah. I think for us, we are a bit similar because you're more in a public view than me, I would say that way. But when you're in a public view and you have certain persona that people associate with you, if people watch podcasts, they don't know who I am. But then when they approach me, and I'm sure they approach you, knowing your work, they start to kind of create a picture in your head. And it's now there's a thing of like, I don't want to disappoint this person because I am a just regular person struggling in my own way. Yeah. And that leads you into some weird route when you kind of keep your persona more than trying to be who you are. Yeah. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, big style. I mean, that's why some of the first exercises I do when I'm connecting people is to understand which persona are they presenting and which is their real persona. And as soon as you know how the real person ticks, you can connect at a level that's far deeper. And usually it takes us years to find that, but it's a 30-second task to actually look at it and realize it, but we don't.
Yeah. How did you do it for yourself?
How did I do it for myself? I think it was guttural, to be honest. I have been a leader since I was young. As we discussed on the last chat, lost my dad at 6 months, my mum at 18, failed all my exams, had to be very self-sufficient. And so I've created this persona of being strong and dynamic and determined because no one else is going to carry me.
Yeah.
But what I found was when I hung out with people like that, it didn't fuel me. Because I was looking at myself in the mirror and I realized it wasn't being authentic. So what I started to do, and I did it professionally, I would hang out with creatives and elevate introverts. I realized I was actually doing service to myself, and I am naturally introverted. I'm naturally creative. I created a persona and a strength that is a facade to lift me, because nobody else was able to do it. And when I realized what fueled me was the creatives, the exploration, alone time, and started to feed that, then I realized I'd discovered who I was. And it took me 45 years.
I think that's one of the most important explorations, finding that you are actually alone. So there's nobody there to save you, and it's okay. And for me, that was such a heartbreaking moment when I'm like, in reality, well, I have my parents, but they're older, and now I support my mom at least and my grandma. Yeah. And I'm like, if I'm in trouble, in reality, it's just me. Yeah. Inside of me, it's just me. You born alone, kind of, you die alone, and that is okay. But getting to understanding and kind of being okay with that is a hard process.
I put a twist on that as well, maybe just to make sure we'll need a hug in a minute, but like, I don't want you sobbing in the middle of
I'm not a hugger. Saying,
no, I know. You're a lover, not a fighter. Yeah. Anyways, is the realization that yes, you're alone, and yes, you are you, and yes, you should celebrate the now because you can't predict the future and you can't change the past, but realize that we're designed to be on a kindred quest. We're designed to be with other people. Yeah. Like you and your team. Everybody is totally different, and it's great to feel that you can be fully you. If you take two billiard balls, we often say when we're in a relationship, we should have this overlap of harmony, but that's an area of compromise. Yeah. But if you can be side by side and be as a collective, as a herd, then you realize that actually I'm alone in me, i.e. celebrate me, but celebrate me being different alongside others that are different. And that's why I purposely, with the retreats, I make sure everybody is totally different. Some of the people you met at the retreat, you probably wouldn't have hung out with.
No.
They were just like, who is that person from that country with that perspective? Yeah. But when you suddenly take away the badge, the ego, the arsehole really is there's a profile that you think you need to be for your career. When you take that off, everybody's awesome.
Yes.
And suddenly and hence why soul to soul works so well, is you're not going job to job or ego to ego. You're actually just connecting our human souls so that we're part of this kindred quest.
Yes.
And that's power. That's incredible. And it's really reassuring as well, because when you realize that formula, you realize you can go anywhere in the world, do anything, and always be supported and in companionship. versus you have to move with your own club, your own
I actually seek for people who are different now, which I never did, because by design we try to attract the people who are like us. When I was in tech industry, I would only hang out with tech people.
Yeah.
And now I seek for a podcast, at least, people who are way, way different, who look different than me, different age, different experiences, and I connect with them so well.
Yeah.
Because this is where I learn. This is what interested me. This is where I can open up and get something new.
Yeah, the key is to do it after a set moment as well. And that's the hard bit. Like I've had so many people come and do the barn and then go, I never thought I would connect and become friends with these kind of people. But then they go back over the wall to the sort of myopic world that they're kind of have been breeding for 30, 40, 50 years. Yeah. And it's really hard to break that mold. That's the biggest challenge, because sometimes, especially when you go back over the wall, you're going back into the job role versus how do I service myself role.
Yeah.
And then it's a conflict. So I think that's an ongoing struggle.
Which is beautiful. Like people who I met at your retreat, I'm still good friends with. One of this, my business partner now.
Right.
We're building another project with another guy who was there.
Yeah.
And they're all really good friends. I think I'm in touch with every single one of them.
And it's incredible, right? Only 4 days, but what you see in 4 days, you often feel you have a connection that is bigger than people you've known for 20 years.
Yeah.
Because we don't ask the right questions during time. We actually skim across the surface often in relationships, but to be able to go deep is transformative.
For somebody who is watching and they're like, I want to connect with somebody, but I don't know how, what would be the right questions to ask?
What's the one thing you want me to know about you?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
What was the weirdest answer you heard for that?
One was, I'm in love with somebody in my family, which was quite weird. Yeah. And I did not expect it. Do you know what is the crazy bit? I did this. I was doing a conference for EY, the big, finance institution. And I asked that question to the group. What's the one thing you want the people in your group to know about you? And sometimes it's like pulling a finger out of the dam.
Yeah.
This guy's like, I'm sleeping with my secretary. And I'm like, oh, shit. Hold on a minute. How do I rephrase the question that people don't feel the release of saying, I'm going to be honest? It was like, oh, my God, seriously? And then the second question, what's the one thing you don't want me to know about you?
Oh, that's even worse.
That's even worse.
Yeah.
But most people have got rid of their first challenge on the first question. So it's usually like, and you try and stop a room when you've asked that question. I want you to share with, it's like stopping a herd of elephants. It's like really hard because people have permission to actually tell you what they want to tell you if they had time with you.
Yes. But creating that environment is hard. Like if I just ask a random person, they will tell me the scripted bullshit.
Yeah, you've got to be in an environment. You can't do it in a coffee shop.
Yeah.
They'll be like, yeah, could you get the police? But no, you've got to be in an environment. I'm extremely violent. That's what I want you to know about me. I'm a psychopath.
I don't have any money to pay for his coffee.
Yeah, I'm robbing the bank next door. Yeah, you've got to be careful how you prod the bear. But when you actually ask a heartfelt question, I actually did that when COVID happened and my 2 older daughters came back to Bali to stay with us, 23 and 24. The only time in my life that my daughters in their 20s and beyond would probably come back and live with me for 3 months would be maybe when I was on my deathbed or at the end of my life. Realistically, your kids don't come back and live with you.
Yeah.
And my little one, she was at home, and I asked that question at dinner, the first one, and it was eye-opening, but actually transformative in our relationships. I realized that I hadn't asked the right questions a lot of the time to my kids, and suddenly I could. It's like the work we do with the shape exercises or even drawing where you want the future to be. You allow a child to do that and a child to do it, and that's why we're doing children and parent retreats now. It's transformative because they suddenly go, I didn't know you thought like that. I didn't even know that my child was compromising because I was acting like this. Yeah. And I think those questions, especially as there's so much growth in the well-being space, those questions are becoming more and more important.
Yeah.
Because just doing veneers of, mind exercises or body exercise, but connection exercises to help celebrate who you truly are probably the most valuable things you can do.
I agree. And from my work, I learned it's not about the answers, it's about the questions.
Yeah.
And a lot of people focus too much on the answers to getting the right answer. And then if you ask the right question, then everything else aligns, which is counterintuitive. But I think this is what your superpower is.
Yeah.
And I guess mine too, to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
And then you can navigate people in where they need to go.
What's your go-to question to break the ice?
What are some of the beliefs you used to have that you don't have anymore? I'm going to ask you that right now.
Oh, that's a good question. I'll just talk a little bit and delay it so I can think about that question.
I know what you're doing.
Some of the beliefs, say it again, then I'll.
What are some of the beliefs you used to hold? It can be 10 years ago, 5 years ago that you don't hold anymore.
Intuitively, I don't know why it's just came to me, but you are who you mix with was a belief. I don't think people are that shallow. I think people have far more depth to be who they truly are, and they will engage at a certain amount of time the kind of energy and attitude of the people they mix with versus become them. I don't think we're that easily influenced. I think, and I see that with children as well. Like you change their groups and they will quickly transform to be it, but they will be, their values are there themselves.
Yeah.
So that's one that sprang to mind. I used to believe that I had to keep moving to stay alive. Like I was born, my mum wanted to get me out quick because my father was dying at home. So we were back on the bus the day I was born to get home. And so I've always moved, and I've always had to move because I've had to pivot to work out how to get what I needed because the front door was often blocked. I didn't go to certain schools. I didn't have certain background. I didn't have certain whatever it was. And so I've often faced the doors shut. So I've always had to go in through the window or through the chimney, which meant I've always had to keep going. But like even with the work you're doing, say it Soul to Soul, I've got podcast guests from 71 countries, right?
Yeah.
But you're staying and you're doing it here in Bali, and you probably have people from 71 countries, but you're doing it here and face to face. I'm doing it internationally on our, the Elevate on Riverside or whatever it is. And it's actually, I've realized, why am I running around? And it's more because that's how I get fueled as a person versus what's needed for the task.
Yeah.
So that's been quite a nice one.
I've been having this realization as well. So for a few years, we've been traveling around the world, and I was running from something. I realized looking back that it was just running, and I really need to find out what I was running from.
Yeah.
I think because I left home and I wanted to be away from home, I was trying to run around to make sure that I'm just as far away as I can.
Yeah.
And then I accepted that, well, I have my home and it's fine. I don't have to live there. I don't have to run.
Yeah.
Because at one point you're just like, I changed so many friends and everything, like it was all transactional. So you don't build deep connections because you're gonna run away.
Yeah.
And it's actually changes who you are, which I didn't like a lot.
Big star. I was friends with a gentleman who passed, and he's an amazing character, Sir Ken Robinson. And I think he's the #1 TED Talk. It was fascinating. I had dinner with him, and some guy called Mick, who was a percussionist, who I later found out was Mick Fleetwood of Fleetwood Mac, but I thought he played the tambourine, so I ignored him. Idiot. But anyway, I was chatting with him, and he said, he was talking about how life is it's like a house, and every room in that house is a chapter and has a story. And sometimes that chapter or that story is not good for you. And you turn the light off in that room and you shut the door.
Yeah.
And he said where he re-engaged to celebrate who he was as a house is he went back to those rooms and turned the light on.
Yeah.
And he realized the trauma or the fear was that of a 6-year-old, not the grown man that he was. And once he did that, the house became lighter.
Yeah. And
he realized he had a home, and therefore he didn't need to find a home. And that made me really reflect and go, where is home? If I have an argument with Jana, my wife, what's great is I have an argument and then I try and run. She follows.
Yeah.
So I can't get away. So there's no point in running. And I've realized, if you run, you're probably going to get hit.
Yeah.
down the road. I saw a cool image of a guy sleeping with his head on a pillow and his dog on his chest and his blanket, and he's lying on the pavement outside by his car. And it says, relaxing after winning an argument with my wife. And it's like, you know what? There's no point in running all the time.
Yeah.
It's actually, why don't you be present, sort it out, and solve what's at hand, and then you can be free and not worry about those.
But it's very
rules.
counterintuitive for people.
Totally counterintuitive.
People like myself, I'm used to retrieving.
Yeah.
Like my initial reaction is to kind of dissolve the argument. I will retrieve, but that makes things even worse because like, oh, now you're ignoring me. Now this doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I learned that if you push yourself a little bit to stay, it actually creates a way better environment in general.
There was a bullfighter who did our retreat. I think I may have told you this story in the past. And this guy, Raymond, Stetson, cowboy boots, incredible. And every day he was in the rodeo arena in Montana. He would stand between the bull and the guy the bull had just thrown off.
Oh, wow.
So 30 times a day he would stand between the bull and the guy on the floor, preventing the bull killing the guy. So he faced death 30 times a night. And I said to him, how do you know you're in control of the situation? He said, I only know I'm in control of the situation when my hand is on the head of the bull. Because when my hand is on the head of the bull, I'm using everything I've learned, all the emotions I know, and my full being without trying to think about it or react to it. I have to dance with the bull. If the bull goes one way, I go the other, and vice versa. He said, when I'm dancing with the bull, I can make everything right. The alternatives are I run from the bull and the bull's going to hit me to our point about our relationships, or I climb on the bull and try and control it, and I'm just going to get tossed off. Yeah. It's the same like even with our children. We can say, get off that TikTok, give me your phone. That's getting on the bull. Or we can say, knock yourself out. I don't understand it. You'll get stupid. I'm going to leave you with it. Or we can say, let me see what you're doing. Yes. Let me understand it. And what's the right amount of time you should spend on here? And is this the right stuff you should be watching? Yeah. Now you're dancing with the bull. And it's same with relationships. We often think like relationships are a game of tennis, but then you wait for somebody to lose and somebody to win. Yeah. Whereas if you're dancing together, you have to be aware and you have to be connected. And for me, that was a big thing. I'd say, am I competing or am I dancing? And usually when things go wrong, it's because I'm not dancing and I'm not connected to the challenge.
That's a very good way to put it.
It's a great one, right? And it goes in the same at work. You know, if something's wrong with work, it usually means you've either distanced yourself from what's happening or you're over controlling.
Yes. Same with finances.
Same with finance. Same with everything. That relationship, you know, if it's not going well with the missus, it's because you guys, there's something, you're not dancing. And maybe it wasn't the right partner in the first place, but there is something there which allows the relationship to work if you dance.
Yes. And another thing that I think you might relate to, sometimes we take the role and then we play the role. So for me, the role was like, okay, I am a breadwinner. I'm gonna just provide. Yeah. And then people treat you as that. So you kind of put yourself into that role and then you get back to people. 100%. At some point, I'm like looking at my messages and all I get is people asking me for money. Yeah. And I'm like, but I cannot blame these people for that because I put myself in a role and 100%. I told them that this is who I am. Yeah. But like then it's kind of sad when you realize I'm way more than that. And then you have to put your hand on a bull and say, you know what? I need to be in control. I need to explain and make them learn that I'm more than that.
100%. Like when most of us present who we think we should be to fuel what we think others think of us and fuel our identity. I've never come across anybody that who they present they should be or who they think they are in the eyes of others is true.
Okay. Interesting.
When I've done the work and we've done and unpeeled the onion a little bit, it's a different persona every time. And that's just because we grow and we create talents to solve traumas or challenges when we're younger.
Yeah.
And that creates, to your point, persona. You being strong and being the leader and look, you know what, I'll help you out financially, creates a persona of that leadership style that realistically may be the people shape or the people element and the caring and the loving that's more important. I wish the person had just come give me a hug.
Yeah, yeah.
But then you're always, are they going to give me a hug and then reach around for the wallet? Right?
Yeah.
Because you create that persona. So back to the hand on the head of the bull, if you spend time actually celebrating and sharing who you truthfully are, what your superpower is, and therefore that's what you need help with most, and then celebrating what brings you joy, your values, it will extinguish years of working it out. Because suddenly you're like, I know how you want to be treated. I know what warms you and connects with you. And I know how you need to be respected and supported in your life.
Yeah.
Like imagine dating and then knowing that before you started dating. This person is this kind of persona, this need, this kind of way of thinking. Are they right? No.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's get to the person that is right. And then you've got the right energies to live a life of dancing.
How do you find that ahead of time, apart from going to a Will's retreat?
Come to Elevation Barn on 1-800. Join us. No. For me, it's very much the right questions, going back to it. And that's why we're actually trying to create a game now, a process. And we did part of it when we were at Dragonfly, just understanding shapes and energies, just as a given process to help you realize and reflect. Why have I created that? Why? Because I spent 30 years creating that for brands. I could not say, as I spent millions on, say, Toyota launching a new car, this car can do X, Y, and Z, if it couldn't. Because the consumer would get it and go, hold on, it doesn't fly or it doesn't go underwater. You lied to me. Therefore, I hate Toyota. Whereas if it said it will get you to A and B and reflect who you are and celebrate what you need with X, Y, and Z, and it did that, you'd actually fall in love with the car, which means you would defend it if the car broke down or defend it if it needed more money spending on it. We don't do that. We don't spend time clarifying who we truly are so others can forgive us and support us as we transition.
Okay.
Only the people that know us well do that. Those that we meet briefly will give up on us quite quickly because they don't know the context.
Yeah.
So the branding world, every product and service goes through this process, but humans don't. And that's why I created the barn, because I'm like, we're in a confidence crisis of understanding who we are. Clarity of purpose is the ultimate gift you can give somebody so that they feel of value and included and relevant. And then you just give them the playing field in which to perform.
The weird question. What if, like, the difference between looking at yourself in a Toyota, at some point you might realize that this Toyota is just shit, and then you need to you can just go and find a different brand to promote, or as many people would do, or just lie about Toyota, how amazing it is, and create some story around it. But I assume there are people who would look in the mirror and say, I just don't like who I am.
Sure.
Who I truly am.
Sure. Yeah, the first thing is to ask yourself, and the very simple exercise will allow you to do that, is to understand what you value. And it's just to write down all the things that have brought you joy since being a little boy or little girl to now.
Yeah.
And then bucket them into areas of commonality. You'll suddenly realize what you value. Family, adventure, learning, creativity, whatever it is. Now you know what you're about. Are you, and I can guarantee, if they're saying I'm shit and I don't like who I am, it's because they're not living their values.
Yeah.
The environment that they're in. When I was young and I was growing up in England, I was constantly, I was dyslexic. I didn't even know what dyslexia was until 20 years ago. Still can't spell it. I didn't know my downfalls were naturally who I was, but I was told I was stupid. I was told I wasn't good enough by my friends. And not because they were trying to, take my legs away, but they didn't want me to leave. Sometimes people will pull you down because they don't want you to leave from where you are because they love you.
Interesting. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So suddenly you realize your values and understand where you're at and what you can do with it. The key is then to say, am I living it authentically and where do I want to go?
Yeah.
And by looking in the mirror, you'll get the answers. Even asking people, what do you think I help you with the most? What can I do for you? Then you suddenly start to reflect, actually, I've got this skill. Brands always evolve. It's right that we evolve. Say Madonna as a brand, right? In the 80s, you know, like a virgin, crazy punk, mad girl, da-da-da. She's moved with culture to be relevant. You know, married to Guy Ritchie, super cool, creative feel, into the music scene, the rave scene, da-da-da-da. She's stayed consistent. She hasn't said, I'm going to stick with who I am. That's where I think people go wrong. Yeah. I should be this and I can't change. Why? Because changing, you often feel embarrassed. Hold on a minute. If I change, does my image change? Me coming to Bali, you know, CEO of several big ad agencies, global agencies, and then coming to Bali, what was the number one thing people said? Ooh, Will's gone woo-woo, and he's now a beach bum in Bali. I've worked harder here than I have anywhere else in my life. Am I woo-woo? No, I'm more wary of Eastern and Western principles. Yeah. So I've actually grown as a person. I've actually calmed down as a person. I've actually become more celebratory of who I am as a person. Yeah. So Bali has done me a world of good because it's allowed me to reflect through the eyes of others, not the zone of people that I was growing and working with.
Yes.
But that can seem really embarrassing for you. And people don't do it for that reason. What are people going to think? Who gives a shit what people think?
Yeah, but as you said in our first interview, if you like the pond you're in, choose a different pond. The thing is, if you don't choose a pond and you change, then you might be the odd duck in this pond, and then it's a problem because some people cannot change a pond easily.
Sure, but you do it in bite-sized chunks. Like I changed ponds. I went from England to America. Yeah, that's a big pond change across the pond.
Yes, but it's easier for you to be a new person in America because nobody knows you. And his friends who are saying you're dumb, that's not there anymore. So you can bring a new persona, which I did as well.
So back in the branding world, if I was trying to convince, let's go back to the Toyota example. I remember pitching to launch a youth brand for Toyota called Scion. Yeah. And the CEO from Japan was there listening. Nobody spoke except everyone just sat around him waiting. And I said to him, Hideki-san, how will you know what I'm presenting today is right? He says, I should be scared and I should not know what you're talking about because what you're telling me about, I don't know. I don't know youth, right? So and then halfway through the presentation, I said, what do you think? He says, I'm terrified. I said, thank you. That meant everybody around that room, he just authenticized or whatever, given authority that this was the way to go. We often have to look at these situations and work out how do we change the pond, and we need to go in bite-sized chunks. The way that we did the work was we told them, this is how this person thinks. This is the kind of influence and activities they like doing. This is how they spend their time. You always have to bring people up to where you are. So if you're wanting to change your pond, it may be, I'm actually going to yoga tonight. Oh, no way. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. And then a week later, I went to this restaurant. It does Balinese food. It's crazy. Have you ever tried Balinese food? No, I haven't. And then the next time maybe, have you ever walked around your house without shoes on and just been on the bare floor? Then you say, I'm going to Bali for the week or for a holiday. Yeah. It's not a surprise.
Yeah, I guess.
You've given them the stepping stones to the direction you're going. You don't jackknife and go, that's it, everybody. Hey, good luck. I'm moving to Bali. Yeah. You actually can do it in increments. If you want to, get fitter and you want your friends to support you because you're not drinking or you're not doing X, Y, and Z, you do it in bite-sized chunks. We call it eating the elephant. If you try and do it in one go, you'll suffocate. And the mindset of others, because they're shocked by the change, they won't support you. Yes. But if you do it bite by bite, then people go, oh my God. It's like, look at Soul to Soul, right? You started out with your best podcast ever with me first. And then 90 odd later or 60 odd later, all epic. People are like, holy shit, the number one podcast in Bali. How did you do that? You didn't go, hey guys, guess what? I'm the number one podcast in Bali and I'm going to interview Will in my first thing. Yeah. Step by step. And it took you a year and a half.
Yes. getting people accustomed to the change.
Yeah, and get comfortable. And then when you're with them and when they're comfortable, they support you. Why? Because you haven't alienated them. You haven't said, you guys aren't good enough, and therefore I'm going to a new audience. Like Madonna didn't say, you guys aren't good enough in the 80s and I'm moving to a 90s style. She said, come with me.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to this new thing.
But the point about Toyota and you saying you need to be shocked and scared, I think that's what keeps people not doing anything. Because actually for some people, going to yoga is very scary.
Sure.
New people, you have to do certain exercises, you have to be vulnerable. Because it borderlines in vulnerability. I think that's the biggest fear.
Yeah.
Somebody will see me vulnerable, and it just paralyzes people. That's why they are living in a sleep, and we try to wake them up with this conversation. So even making a small step is very, very hard for most people. So what's the way to make a first small step? Because I think that's the hardest.
The first thing is to actually think about the small steps.
Yeah.
So the first step, say that yoga bit. Yeah, absolutely. I did Pilates this morning. It was me and 12 beautiful women in spandex. And I'm like, I look like, an elephant in the room. Embarrassing.
Yeah.
It was awful. I mean, seriously, I nearly died on the machine trying to work out what to do. But I built myself up to it. I did, what is Pilates? I'm going to learn about that. Let me understand what it means and what it does for my body and who I am. What processes and what elements do you need to do when you're at Pilates? What equipment is there? You don't just go, I'm going to turn up. It's the same with these transitions of who you are and who you need to be. How do you, as soon as the idea seems too big, I'm going to Pilates, break it down into smaller bits.
I see what you're saying.
And so the more you break it down, even am I wearing the right outfit for Pilates?
Yeah.
Are my feet going to slip? And I go, excuse me, I'm going to embarrass myself.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's the same with every single step. I have a principle of three key areas. One of the things I started doing in my 30s was expeditions.
Yes.
And I started doing these trips to really push myself outside my comfort zone. And the first one was losing a bet with a friend. And he said, right, you lost. You're going to come on my next expedition to climb the highest mountain in Europe, Mount Elbrus in Russia.
Oh, you climbed that?
Yeah.
Wow.
I said, okay, when? 6 months. The first task is to commit.
Yes.
You know what? I'm going to go for it. Then you work it out.
Yes. I agree with that.
Right. So I committed. Now I had to work it out. And it's led to me climbing the highest in Antarctica. It's led to me racing the Dakar, all these crazy things that a person like me, in my head, no way would ever do in their life.
Yes.
But I'd moved my comfort zone to expand it. I'd gone beyond the fuck it, as they say. I'd just gone, you know what? I can. Why not? Jump. Yeah. Try it. So the first thing I did was the 3 rules. 1, do you have the right equipment? Mm-hmm. I wanted to make sure my boots wouldn't make my feet drop dead. My gear would allow me to stay warm. My masks would allow my nose not to burn off, blah, blah, blah. Have I got the right equipment? 2nd, do I have the right team? And are the team going to be better and lift me? And 3rd, am I going to have the right commitment? Am I going to go for it? If you have all 3, you can't fail.
Interesting.
Because the right team will motivate and help you and allow you to see around the corners and support you. The right kit will allow you to achieve it in whatever capacity it is. Even doing this podcast, doing the right equipment here, making it feel that the editing team is making it all fantastic in the social media, blah, blah. But you've said, you know what? I want to go on this journey and do it.
Yeah.
The challenge most people find is actually committing.
Yes, because it's unknown.
The unknown, the fear. But if you allow yourself to take step by step, and over 6 months, I went step by step to work it out, you realize actually somebody else can do it. And you have to say, you know what, I'm going to jump a little bit. We're designed to do that, though. Otherwise, we'd stay in bed all the time. We're designed to wake up optimistic. Yes. Even if we had bad things during the day.
And the more you do it, the easier it becomes.
The more you do it, you change your comfort zone.
Yes. But I'm totally with you. Like 5-6 years ago, I watched Ironman triathlon on the TV and I'm like, this is impossible. And then I just paid $600 and signed up in 6 months. And I'm like, how am I going to do it? I don't know. Hired a coach. He'll show me. He showed me what equipment to get.
Right team, right
and
kit.
Until like 2 months before I was swimming in a pool, and I'm like, this is impossible for me to swim that distance and then run and then bike. And just in the end, I did it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so you push the limit so high. Like if I can do that impossible thing, then I'll probably, if somebody asked me to go to Mount Elbrus, I'll be like, all right.
Yeah.
I know nothing about it, but I'll figure it out.
Absolutely. And the thing is just to sort of have that self-belief and go, I have also a trigger mechanism that if it comes up 3 times, fate is kind of saying. So Russia had come up 3 times in a topic. Climbing a big mountain had come up 3 times. Same happened. I did a talk in China. It had come up 3 times, and woe behold, a friend's like, oh, I'm supposed to be going to give this talk in China. I can't go. Would you do it? I'm like, shit. Manifesting is so important. Why? Because we're constantly bombarded with these opportunities, but if we're not awake to them, we don't see them. You know, they say that it's very hard to wake somebody up that's pretending to sleep.
Yes, that's a good one.
Right? And if people are pretending to sleep by, oh, no, it's not me, or I'm not good enough, or I can't do this, you've got to somehow go, you know what, you can. And maybe let's start with X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And then you can, then the road will appear before you. Don't predict it.
Yes. So Dakar and Antarctica, that's pretty crazy. Let's talk about that. I mean, I heard Antarctica piece, which is actually was really cool, how you almost froze your nose off and hands off.
Well, that wasn't that cool, but it was awful.
I mean, it was cool to listen to because you did this talk at the Bangkok that we went to. That was a highlight of your talk. I definitely went there.
Yeah.
So maybe share that story about the gloves and how you felt in Antarctica.
Well, Antarctica came about again with the same climbing friend, a guy Jamie Clark, who's he's climbed Everest 3 times, maybe 5 times now.
Wow.
Across the empty quarter in Arabia, drinking camel spit to survive. The guy's like beyond human, incredible tenacity, and both of us, after we climbed Mount Elbrus, slipped discs in our backs.
Oh, wow.
So I couldn't walk for like 2 months.
Just because of climbing? Or
the climbing, but also we'd gone back and yoga was now hip. We'd done yoga. He was in Calgary. I was in New York. And I said to him, dude, can't believe it. I've got a slipped disc. It's really bad. I'm going to have to have surgery. And he's like, you're not going to believe it. I had it as well. And he did acupuncture. And, you know, my wife's an acupuncturist, and the transition was spectacular. And he did all right. He said, but we need something as a target to make us get well. And I'm going on this trip to Antarctica to do another one of the 7 summits. It's my last one. Would you like to come and do it with me? And I'm like, yeah, I'm in.
So you're not only going to Antarctica, you're going to Antarctica to climb a mountain.
Yeah, the highest mountain on that continent in up to minus 40.
Wow.
Yeah, same
Sounds
as Fahrenheit
fun.
Celsius.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and the thing is, I committed and then realized all the harsh. I didn't know it was the largest continent. I didn't know it was the driest continent. I didn't know it was the cold. I presumed it was cold, but then there's the Arctic. You know, there. I didn't realize there was no animals and anything there. You know, it's totally desolate.
Yeah. How do you get there?
You 2 ways to go. You go across the strait from Chile in a boat, which is shocking. But then you're at the perimeter. We're climbing into Patriot Hills, so that's in the middle of the continent. So you got to get in. So we flew in on a Russian Lucian cargo plane, old one with dials. And you're there and you wear your 3-layer gear to get in. And down the middle of the plane is the snowmobiles and the tent systems and the food supplies and the dogs and the kite surfing equipment and all the people that are going there from all walks of life, of which there's only been like 350 explorers going in, are all going to try and conquer something. And we basically, the hardest bit of my training was not drinking for a month before. They said, you can't drink because it thins the blood.
Okay.
I was like, kidding me? I've been drinking since I'm 15. The day we arrive, the storm has kicked up and the planes can't land at Patriot Hills. So we're stuck in Punta Arenas in southern Chile. And I said, what do we do? We're here for 24 hours, you know, will we get in? They said, oh, don't worry about it. We're just going to go to the bar. I was told we shouldn't drink. Oh yeah, we tell all the rookies that. I'm like, dude, that was the hardest part of my training. Anyway, so we all go get lathered. And the next day we all put on our gear and we go in. And the plane, as you're coming in, is landing on a white ice runway.
Wow.
And to do it, people are standing on the runway with mirrors. So the pilot knows where the ground is. So you are praying in a plane with no heating. You're wearing all your gear because it's a cargo plane.
Yeah.
And you land and the plane can't brake, and you keep driving and going until it kind of manages to slow. And you come back and drive back 15 minutes on the runway, and you're in this vast valley. Anyway, so I'd gone with Jamie, and we had a guide, and we then took a twin otter up. All the Norwegians decided to walk it, which was absolutely crazy. And for a certain amount of time, we're training. And I was there with people that were way out of my league. Kit Delorier, the first person to ski and the Seven Summits. So she clicked in the top of the Lhotse face of Everest and skied down.
Wow.
Extreme skier, but a beautiful lady, and you're kind of like, why are they doing that? Anyway, so we all went in there, and we were at the upper camp, the base camp group, and we'd gone up. And what you do is you go up a camp, come back down again, go up a camp, go till you climatize, and then you do the next camp. And the weather changed quite heavily as we were on one of the ice faces. Now, we were about 13,000 feet. And as we were walking along, I was breathing heavily. And Jamie was ahead of me, and our guide had actually cancelled because she was so worried about the weather. She'd gone back down to base camp, so there was just two of us. Wow. And there was other teams on the mountain. There's only a certain number on the mountain at one time. And as I was breathing, I realized that, this exertion could be troublesome, and my goggles started to freeze. I was, oh shit, now I can't see. And I knew that if I slipped, the fall below would have killed me. The terminal velocity would rip the clothes from my body, and I'd die. Yeah. And so I did the thing. I just stopped and I took my goggles off. And I tried to scrape them with my mitts and didn't work. So I took my mitt off. Then I took my inner glove. Then I took my inner glove off and scraped the inside of the goggles so I could get the ice off. Got it ready, and then suddenly realized that my hand had frozen in a claw. And at minus 40, my skin is starting to crack. And what happens is the nails start to fall out of your fingers. The frostbite, you see your finger going red first before it goes black. Because it's sucking the water out. It's so dry and so cold. So I'm like, shit, I can't move my hand. And I can't see. And I'm on a face here. My snow axe is here. And I'd realized at that point that I shouldn't be here. And I was like, you know what? I've hit a wall. And I knew I'd hit walls in life before as a child, failing my exams and failing at my marriage and failing at my business. All these different I knew that I just needed to hope that things would change. And suddenly there was a hand on my shoulder, and I turned, and Jamie's looking at me, and he just took his glasses off and put them on my head. And he took my hand and put it under his armpit, and then slipped the gloves back on my hand. And we continued. And if that hadn't happened, I knew. And I said to him in camp, I said, dude, you saved my life today. You saved my life today. And I thought I was going to die. And he said, don't worry about it. I was just meant to be there. Whoa. And sometimes other people are just meant to be there for us if we allow them to help and if we're around. We're never alone. And that was a really reassuring moment to realize that I can do these different things. I can try different things. If I've got the right kit, the right team, and the right mindset, we'll get through it. And that's seen me through. Most of us have got to a point where it feels like the plane's going to hit the ground and somehow you pull it back up again. Yeah. Destiny helps us. It will present things. We just got to make sure that it's like if you fall through the ice, you don't tuck your arms in. Okay. You put your arms out and you reach and spread out and connect. It's the same with problems in life. If we know that we're going to have a problem, don't hold it all into yourself. Don't disconnect from everybody else. Spread it out. And back to the start of our conversation, ask for help. Yeah. But it's so natural to just retrieve. It's so natural not to share. When you're feeling down, you're like, I don't want anybody else to feel burden of me. And then you go to yourself. I don't know how natural that is. I think we naturally have a time of self-reflection. I think we've been in the last 30 years in a time of ego and image and loneliness. I also think how a lot of leadership schooling and training is fueling people to be alone.
Yes.
You know, the hero's journey. What the hell's that about?
Yeah.
This kindred quest of us all together is natural.
The whole culture, Western culture, is very, I
Western
am
culture
on top of you, I need to be better than you.
Big style,
Yeah.
big style. And that's why even, you know, yin and yang, right? One's about calm, one's about energy.
Yeah.
You've got to have a balance of both. It's like you will have a bad time during the day and you will have an awesome time of the day. And if you have a brilliant time, you'll have a really shit time. That pendulum will go as high.
Yes.
The realization is to go, you know what? If I can just make decisions when I'm not in the highs of problems or opportunity, things will be more balanced, the yin and the yang. And that comes from not just from short-term cultural influence, it comes from long-term longevity of humanity.
Yeah.
How do we support each other on these journeys?
One thing I learned about doing this Ironman, and I don't know, because we both experienced those crazy things.
Yeah.
Looking back at it, I was like, should I do another one? And then I'm like, I think I'm fueled by ego. I feel that a lot of things I did, because I was running, like I did marathon, I did 6 marathons that year, I did Ironman, and I was like, why? Why am I doing that? Same with traveling around and trying to run away. To me, that was related to my father divorcing my mom, and I wanted him to love me in a certain way, and I was like trying to get his love back, which I realized. And his way of giving me love was completely different from what I guess, and what I wanted as a little kid.
Yeah.
But a lot of those achievements were actually just fueled by ego, trying to prove myself that I'm good enough, that I can be loved. Because now I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And it's not like, I mean, I would go and maybe do it from a completely different angle. It's not going to be like, fuck it, I'm just gonna be the best.
Yeah.
It's more about let's explore that. And I think those are very different things.
Yeah. But that comes with maturity and you realizing that ego is not serving you. And sometimes things like age or relationships or locations highlight that, you know what, it's not serving you. I was 100% the same. You know, craving it, losing my parents, not having the support of some academic brilliance, being told I wasn't good enough, being in the rejection industry, of being told no, no, no every day and having to get back up just to do it. But there is a point where you go, you know what, I'm tired. And do I need to do that?
Yeah.
I think there's an element and there's a balance with that, because you also don't want to feel like I'm now retired and I'm a limpet.
Yeah.
You want to go, what is fueling me? And also, how am I ensuring that I'm being fueled by the full holistic need of my being?
And that's, I think, the hardest one. So now, once you will be fueled by ego, you question more.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is it talking right now? Am I doing that because the ego is talking? I want to prove something?
Yeah.
And I actually don't know the answer. Maybe you have more experience than me. So how do you define that?
Well, I think you go back to the basics, the values of what brings me joy. If you running brings you joy, stop thinking about what others think and think about what you experience and what you appreciate.
Yeah.
Then you'll realize you'll give yourself the immediate filter of where it is. I have the same thing. Like I was in Hong Kong, I was staying at the Rosewood, they picked me up in a Jag, I'm having these incredible dinners and I'm like, I don't want to post that. I don't want to share that I've got this great opportunity. I also don't want to share that I'm traveling. And then I'm like, you know what? I really enjoy traveling.
Yeah.
I really enjoy beautiful experiences. I was sitting there, I'm like, what? This thing's got a bloody massage machine. You know, it had a bar in it. I'm like, I would live in this. This is spectacular. My ego said I should post it to brag, but then I was like, why don't I just share this experience? Experience of a view in Hong Kong, experience that I'm sharing and helping a family elevate their higher purpose together, experience that, you know what, if you put your mind to it, you can go wherever you want to go. If I can do it, a kid from the north of England that was lucky to get into high school, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like, I'll share that I can do it, but I'll also share how I did it so that you can find the hacks versus they're just very lucky or very wealthy or just very connected or whatever. Yeah. Everything, you have to work at everything.
There's kind of a thin line and I'm in the same boat. I don't share more. I used to share everything, but it was more about from the bragging side, again, proving something.
Correct.
So there's part of me that want to inspire others and say it is possible.
Yeah.
And there are other part of me that's like, sometimes I feel I just want to show it. It's like an impulse where you're just like, this comes from wrong place.
Yeah.
I just want to, this like little child want to show others that I'm still worthy and I need to be accepted.
And that's still important. I think you still need to do that for yourself.
Yes.
You have to say, look, I'm still worthy and I'm still important to me.
Yes.
I was talking to this Buddhist monk when we were in Thailand. There was one of the Rinpoches was there from Bhutan.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated, the all shaved head and the single same outfit. And I said to him, so what's the principle of being a monk? He said, we pray, we simplify our lives down to such a straightforward process of sleep, food. The clothing we wear is non-competitive. There's nothing different. We're all look the same. We all have the right intention. And we're all here to celebrate what is happiness.
Yeah.
He said, we pray and meditate and do all the things we do to fill our cup. Are we happy? Why aren't we happy? Is that taking control of us? Or is it really not a reason why we're not happy?
Yeah.
And he said, only when we're happy and our cup is full can we help others.
I like that.
Because then our happiness can overflow to help others. And we see happiness in helping others. You probably find it with your children. I'm the same with mine. I'm happier seeing my kids now achieve than me achieving.
Yes. Because
my cup, I kind of feel like, I achieved that bit on that mountain climb. I achieved it. Same with I did an incredible parachute in Australia. And then my wife bought me it again 5 years later. To your point, I didn't want to do it again.
Yes.
My cup was filled with that experience. Would I want my daughters to actually do it again? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They haven't done it yet. So there's an element of realization that it's not because the ego is trying to achieve that. You achieve the happiness of that experience to full and now do something else. Or if you're not satisfied, like I have a friend, Dave, he's playing padel 2 times a day.
Yeah.
And you can't play with it. Well, hold on a minute. There's a shoelace undone, or there's a ball on the court. That's got to be. He's so meticulous, but he is not full yet with paddle. He still wants to keep rising. Yeah. He still wants to do it. He still wants to perfect. Good for him.
For sure.
Not good for me, because I'm not good enough to play him. Yeah. But it's like, you know what? He's not full yet.
Yes.
And sometimes if you realize that you're doing it to fill yourself, then it's fine. And if you're doing it for the ego to impress others,
yes,
you'll never be full because there's never enough people to impress.
It requires a lot of awareness. And I think that's a hard thing.
Yeah.
Even with podcasting, like my first podcast started talking to rich people because I want to belong in a rich people world. And I kind of never felt I belong until I switch a podcast to talk to anybody I like to on any topics. And I didn't even care about how many people watch it. And now I talk to exactly the people that I ever inspired to talk to. Yeah. It's like, it's kind of you go, as you like to say, under the wall or behind the wall or over the wall.
Yeah.
And in the end, the result is exactly what you expect, but you're a different person now.
Absolutely. You just, it's allowing you to shed a little bit of the layers that are often false. I call it a backpack of life.
Yes.
And many people are constantly doing experiences and they go in the backpack. And what happens is that backpack becomes really heavy.
Yep.
And sometimes you got to take it off and put it down and let your wings out like a new day. It's like if I said, I'll give you $50,000 to spend today and you won't have it tomorrow. And every day you have $50,000 to spend it today and you won't have it tomorrow. You'll end up doing what really is important and what really fuels you.
Yes.
And that will be it. And it's the same. If you wake up today and you have this amount of hours today to live.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're going to have tomorrow, you would probably spend it with more intent and more celebration of today than if you thought it was limitless.
Yes.
Or you think you didn't have any time.
But it's, the problem is that in our head, we just think we'll live forever.
For sure.
I don't know if that changes with age. I guess it does. Because you think, like, interestingly enough, that people who are older, they don't rush.
Mm.
They're just taking their time. They're just like, it's okay. And like counterintuitive, I'm like, well, you don't have that much time. Maybe you should speed up. But they're like, well, it's all right.
Yeah. It's interesting. I actually just did an elevation barn for a group of mid-70-year-olds in a retirement community in Florida.
Interesting.
Who'd all retired there. And I was like, they were like talking about the things they wanted to do. They just moved down. And I said, don't go back over the wall that you've just climbed under, because you used to be a real estate person and now you should do it now. You left that world when you were full and you were saturated and you didn't want to do anything else. What would you really like to do? And I had to say, let's go back to when you were a little girl or little boy and map out all the things that bring you joy. Suddenly you have this fresh lease of life.
Yeah.
And they were like, now you should try clearing the thoughts and perspectives of mid-70-year-olds. They have nothing to lose.
Yes.
And they often have the money to do what they want, and they have time.
Yes.
And suddenly you put wings back. If we did that every day and said, don't worry about what you did yesterday and the past, and you have fresh opportunity to do what you want to do for tomorrow, do an exercise to explore it, it would be more ego not wanting to do that than to do it.
Yes.
It'd be more, no, I am this, and therefore I don't want to explore.
Yes.
And that's why the work that we do is to encourage people to have the confidence just to reflect, just to take space, and just to actually look about what could be tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, I know your schedule is very busy. You travel all the time. So, and I also work all the time these days, which is unusual for me, but we do what we do.
Yeah.
And at one point you're like, well, where is the time? Like when all your days are scheduled and you love what you're doing, but then you're getting caught up in the net of you can't even find time to reflect because everything is so much fun. At one point, I'm sure you had that. You find yourself burned out and then you don't have any energy to reflect anymore.
Sure. Yeah. I think everybody gets that burnout time. It's not. I'm lucky because I'd got to a point in my career and I had a natural transition point and I mapped all the things that brought me joy. And I had realized at my point, I love elevating people through a barn raising capacity. So I created my life based on what I love. So while I do get exhausted, my wife said it to me, actually. She said, I had one of my, the big boy tantrums. Oh, I'm not doing enough. No, I haven't got any friends and I don't love this and I don't do that and da-da-da. I'm going to sack it all in. First, my youngest daughter was like, no. People love what you do. And my wife said, okay, what would you do if you weren't doing what you're doing?
Good question.
And I mapped out what I do now. So that just got the psychological swing in order.
Yeah.
Because the time I gave was to actually reflect what is important to me. And when you realize we often forget how lucky we are and what we're doing.
And your mind is playing tricks on you.
Mind is totally playing tricks on you.
What I started doing is I'm a night person, but now I kind of shifted myself to wake up very early to spend time with kids. But every morning I wake up, I journal my thoughts. And they're always very scrambled and most of the time very negative. So I go into negative thoughts and I write them down, realizing that day doesn't make any sense. Yeah. As soon as I write them down, they all are gone and I start my day. Because this is like a hack that I learned for myself. Because before I would wake up and I feel like, okay, now all these things I need to do, I don't want to do anything today. Yeah. And then I would go to this negative state the whole day. Yeah. But now, since I know that my mind is playing trick on me and I don't like waking up early and maybe that's what's happening, as soon as I write it down, I kind of make fun of it and I move on. Yeah.
Yes, reflecting, right? Yes. And you can go both ways. Some people need to do the half empty and some need to do the half full. Yeah. Like I'll do a gratitude note. What was all the amazing things that happened today at the end of the day? And then I go, fuck, that was an awesome day.
Yeah.
You forget. You're designed to forget. Otherwise, your brain would blow up. It's like we're designed only to hear 6% of what we hear. Yes. Because otherwise we'd be overstimulated. But then in the morning I go, what is the one thing I want to achieve today? Yeah, that will lift me. And I put that rock in the road, and it's like motorbiking. If you see a rock in the road, you will hit it. It draws your eye. If you have an objective of what you want to feel I want my team to love me today. or I want my wife to realize how special she is, or I want the kids to feel that they've been loved.
Yeah.
Your actions will change. It's like the North Star filters, but very simple. And I find that to your point, having that moment to reflect, it will last you the rest of the day.
Yeah. Bring awareness back.
Bring awareness back, and bring awareness to how lucky we are and how awesome it is.
Yeah.
Which can, I have plenty of shit days and I have plenty of shit moments.
Yes.
Everyone does.
Yes.
And I think that's the reality check, is to go, our lives are based 98% on problems and disasters. We can't help it. That's what happens in the world.
Yes.
The key is do you want to look at those, or do you want to look at the opportunities and the lessons they taught you and live the moment? You've got two choices.
Yeah.
And some people find it very hard, but then it's the company you keep to help you do that. If you're sitting with people that are miserable as well and want to keep you down and want to make that, you will psychologically, even though you are a different beast, you'll live that life.
Yeah, just keeping the head on a bull.
Hand on the bull, and ask those that don't really fuel you to make space for those that do. Yeah. And it's hard.
That's a hard one.
My ego, like, there's some friends I've got here, and I thought they were really great friends, and they don't want to support what I'm doing. I don't know why, but I also they don't want to hang out, and I started beating myself up, and I'm like, everybody has their own journey.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm on just a different journey, and they're on a different journey. Neither journey is wrong, but don't blame them for not supporting yours. If it's authentically fueling you, keep doing it.
Yeah, accepting that is hard.
Super hard.
When you build so much common memories and relationships and you realize it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
That's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, and if you do that and go, their journey is different from mine, and you look back at the chapter where it was awesome, then you're celebrating. You know what? We had an awesome time in that period.
Yeah.
It's just not serving me at the moment. And you know what? That chapter may happen again.
Yeah. There are people I meet, and I meet them maybe once in 3 months. We have an amazing conversation, the deepest, beautiful conversations. And I know that we're going to not see each other for 3 months. We'll never call each other. But when we meet each other, it's like the moments are very beautiful. And, you know, different journeys, different people, but in short amounts of connections, beautiful.
Yeah. And it's interesting, like, we're doing it now, but we don't sit around and do this when we're not doing it, right? But imagine if we did.
Yeah.
That you go, that was an awesome evening. But we have to therefore fuel, and that's why with the retreats, we do, 4 days, stay here.
Yeah.
Don't disappear. Actually learn patience to celebrate each other. And then you suddenly go, actually, that was really awesome. That was really fulfilling. You have to have an objective of, I want to enjoy this time, or I want to climb this mountain with that person, or I want to help this person with their purpose, or whatever it is. Then you feel like it's productive.
Yeah.
For especially those like us that we always are insatiable just to try and think that we're doing something.
Yeah.
But if
shared
you make yourself a
experiences.
goal,
Yeah. Shared experiences and really go deep. Yeah.
Yeah, it's refreshing. You suddenly go, oh, you know what? Imagine if we were. And I look at Bali is a great example, and so is Italy. You look at the people at the end of a day; they're all sitting in the street talking.
Yeah,
they're just sitting there, and then they do the little walk together, and then they'll all have a little coffee together or a beer together. We don't do that.
Yeah.
As Western communities, I don't sit outside on the street with the people next door and chat with them. I sit in front of a screen and get entertained by fantasy.
Yeah, which is the biggest issue. And the worst is that you're entertained by fake people's lives that don't exist, and then you beat yourself up, but they have the same problem. One of the interesting ones are like raising a child. Nobody ever tells you how hard to raise a child. Everybody has beautiful pictures of small kids, and we were talking to Anna. She was like, I wish somebody would honestly, vulnerably shared with me what it is to have small kids. I would be better prepared than you faking and saying how 100%. Amazing it is.
100%.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's a journey. It's like life, right? Nobody says that you're going to have all these problems and things in the future. Well, you don't want to be the Debbie Downer, but it's natural.
Yeah.
But it's like with our child, when we had our third child, she slept with us until she was 10.
Well,
people would be like, what? But all of Asia, that's how it is.
Yeah.
That she still slept on my lap when we went for a restaurant, or slept in the back over here. All the kids did. Mm-hmm. But I didn't change who I was because I had a child. I celebrated the new dimension to who I was with the child.
Yeah.
And it's like with if you're authentic to you, then you will be authentic in the environment that you're in.
Yeah.
Same in your job. If you want to, if you're running a business and you authentically like to give people a hug because they're there or whatever. I remember when I started a new team in Montreal, and I went in there and I had bright colors on. I gave people a hug. People were shocked.
Yeah.
What are you doing? This what. 6 months later, everyone was wearing colors and hugging each other.
Yeah.
And it was like, and it wasn't woo-woo. It's called, you know what? I actually give a shit about you. And I'm with you at this moment. And I want to be present and celebrate it. Don't change who you are.
Yeah.
But be the real you, not the badge that you're wearing.
Amazing. I think that's a good segue to finish this one and do a part 3 at some point.
Yeah, it'd be amazing.
Share people first what's going on, like if any retreats are happening.
Yeah, well, we've got retreats every month now. So we've got one the end of February in Bali. Then we're doing one in Botswana in the Okavango Delta, which is a 7-day camp there in March. Then we've got one in New York and then in England. So the barns are happening, elevating each other, and we're doing them for not just entrepreneurs and CEOs and individuals. They're from people from all walks of life that need help in transformation. But we're also doing it for families, and we're also doing it for corporation groups, because that higher purpose, giving clarity, is so important to everybody. We want to make sure it's reached out. And we're extending the weight of the community. I'm off now with 50 people to the north of Bali to go diving and help the Biosphere Foundation live it.
Shout out to them.
Sadly, you're not making it, but Gay and Laser, spectacular. But for us, we're just going to be helping elevate people more. And then what's been beautiful in these last few years is we've been uniting together to solve big grand challenges in the world. And we've got some great grand challenges we're working on in our, what we call as a community incubator accelerator called Stable, which is a consultancy. And I think we're even chatting with Eric and talking about Stable together, because if we're fortunate enough to find the right solution to help solve challenges, let's unite together. Yeah. It's only ego that says this is my tribe and they're different from yours, and so they won't work. So getting that accelerated and see where it all goes.
Thank you. I look up to you, and you inspire me a lot. Thank you for coming, and I really appreciate it.
Back at you. Great job, and thanks for having me back here. It's amazing.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you next one. Bye-bye.